everyone, JJ Cagle here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to download and install Openvpn and Pi-hole ad blocker to your Raspberry Pi. That way you can have ad blocking and, if you want, malware blocking in your home and on the go. So before we get started, you're going to need to order three things. You're going to need to order a Raspberry Pi. Any model will work. However, I will note if you order a Raspberry Pi Zero without Wi-Fi, you will need a micro USB to Ethernet adapter. You're going to need a micro SD card, 16 gigabytes and above should be good. And you're going to need a power supply. So once you've got all those ordered and in your hands, you're going to need to go to this raspberrypi.org webpage, and I'll put the link in the description. You're going to need to download the Raspberry Pi imager for your operating system. Once you've downloaded and installed that, this window is going to pop up, and you're going to select your operating system. I would recommend Raspberry Pi OS Lite. It doesn't take as long to download and install to your SD card, and we don't need the full version since we will only be accessing our Raspberry Pi from the command line, and we don't need the desktop interface. Go ahead and choose your SD card. I don't have mine plugged into the computer because I've already installed the necessary files to it, and you're just going to hit this write. And once it's done writing, you're just going to want to unplug that SD card and plug it back into your computer, and a drive called boot should pull up. You're then going to want to create an empty file with no extension called SSH in the root directory of that boot file. If you don't know how to create a file with no extension, I will provide a link to the SSH file in the description. So once you've got that SSH file in the boot drive, just go ahead and eject that SD card, plug it into your Raspberry Pi, plug in your Ethernet cable, and plug in your Raspberry Pi. Once you've plugged your Raspberry Pi in, give it a couple minutes to load up and connect to the internet. Once it's connected to the internet, you're going to want to log into your router administration page. It differs based on your router, so I can't tell you how to access that specifically, but the information on how to access it should be in your router manual. Once you've logged in, you're going to want to go to the attached devices page. It could also be connected devices, whatever. You're going to want to find the page where it shows all the devices connected to your router. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll down until we see our Raspberry Pi, and we're going to look for something that looks like this. This is the MAC address. So we're just going to copy that MAC address, and then we're going to want to find the DHCP reservation page. It can also be called address reservation or IP registration. On our router, it's in the Advanced tab, and in most routers, it is under the Advanced tab. Once again, it does differ based on your router. So here, we're just going to go to Advanced, and then Setup, and then LAN Setup. And then down at the bottom here, you can see Address Reservations. We'll just click Add. And then once this page loads, we're going to want to input the MAC address. Just paste that MAC address right into there. Enter the IP address you want to assign to it, whatever, and then enter a name. And once you've done all that, you're just going to click Add. I've already added a DHCP reservation to my Raspberry Pi, so I'm not going to do it again. So now that we've set up that DHCP reservation, we're going to want to create a dynamic DNS domain name. What a dynamic DNS does is keeps your IP up to date. So it's always going to point to the right IP address. And you need this as opposed to just using your IP address because every month or every time you reboot your router, depends on your internet service provider, your public IP address changes. So what a dynamic DNS does is makes sure that that domain name is always pointing to the correct IP address. So in order to reserve yourself a domain name for your dynamic DNS, you're just going to go to dynu.com, create an account, verify your account, and then log in. And then we're going to click on the settings, this little settings icon, to go to the control panel. Once we get to the control panel, we're going to want to click on DDNS services. Once you click on that, we're going to click add, and then we're going to pick a top level domain. I'm going to choose mywire.org, and then we'll click a host name. I'm going to do test domain 1. Then we're going to click add, and we are all set to go. That is now reserved. Once you've got yourself a dynamic DNS address, we then need to SSH or shell into the Raspberry Pi. How we're going to do that is, I'm using a Mac, so the method's going to be different. If you're on Windows, I would recommend downloading PuTTY. I'll include a link in the description. But on Mac, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the command line, open terminal, and type SSH. And then we're going to enter pi at, and then you're going to put the IP address you reserved for your Pi. Then you're just going to hit enter, and it's going to prompt you for a password. The default password on a Raspberry Pi is Raspberry. Once you've entered your password, I would recommend changing it once you're in. So we'll just hit pass WD, enter. We'll enter our current password, Raspberry. Then we'll enter our new password. Oops. Tried to enter Raspberry more than one time there. There we go. Once we've done that, we need to install and configure our dynamic DNS update client. This is what's going to update the IP address associated with that dynamic DNS domain name. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit CD to make sure we're home. Let me clear this real quick. Okay, CD, make sure we're home. Then we're going to type sudo make dir DYNUDNS. Enter, and I will include all these commands in the description. Then we're going to type cd DYNUDNS. Then we're going to type sudo touch dynu.sh. This is going to create a shell file. We'll hit enter. Then we're going to type sudo nano dynu.sh. And this is going to open an editor to edit that shell file. Then we're going to want to copy and paste this URL into this file, just like so. And then we're going to want to make sure everything is on the same line. So I'm just going to fix that real quick. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to change this uppercase username to the username you created at dynu.com. Then you're going to want to change the password to your password for dynu.com. Once you have done that, we're going to hit Control X, and this is going to save that file. We'll hit Y, and then we'll hit Enter. That file has now been saved. Now we're going to activate that shell file by chmod 700 dynu.sh. If it doesn't let you, just do sudo chmod 700 dynu.sh. There we go. Now we're going to create a cron tab to automatically run this every so often. So we're just going to type in cron tab -e. It's going to pull this up. And then you're going to want to copy and paste this right here, this starting with the asterisk and ending with the 1, at the bottom of all this blue in the cron you just created. Once you've copied and pasted that in, we're just going to hit Control X. And I had already made that file. That's why it says no modification made. But you would have just hit Control X, Y, and then Enter as before. Now we are done creating our dynamic DNS update client. Now is where the fun begins. So we're going to want to install the Pi-hole application onto our Raspberry Pi. And this is very simple. Just copy this command right here, which I'll include in the description, right into the command line and press Enter. It'll take it a little bit. It's going to start installing the packages. Once it's done with that initial setup, it should pull up a page looking like this, Pi-hole Automated Installer. We're just going to hit Enter, going to hit Enter again, Enter. We're going to choose ETH0. Press Enter. We're going to choose a DNS provider. I'll just choose Google. We're just going to hit Enter here, and then we're going to select yes, we want to use the current network settings. We'll just hit yes. It'll give you this conflict, but since you've already assigned a DHCP reservation, you don't have to worry about this. Just press Enter. Yes, we want to install a WebAdmin. Yes, we want to install web server. We want to log queries, show everything. Once you do that, it's going to install the rest of the necessary packages. Once it's done finalizing that install, it's going to pop up with this installation complete page, and it's going to give you the address you can access your manager for Pi-hole at. So it's just going to be the IP address you assigned when you did your DHCP reservation /admin, as you can see right here. And then since I've already installed it, it doesn't give me a new password, but you should see right here there will be a password, and it's just going to be random characters. That password doesn't matter because we're going to reset the password right now. So just copy that web address, hit OK, and then we're going to type in sudo pi-hole -a-p. Press enter. It's going to prompt you to enter a new password. Enter that new password. It'll say new password set. Then you're ready to log into the web client. So just type in that IP address you reserved /admin. Then you're just going to hit enter. Voila, we are logged into the Pi-hole. It'll just pull up this page, and then in the sidebar you'll see login. I'm already logged in. You'll just enter that password, and then you'll be good to go. So in group management, if you want to, you can add more ad lists to block like malware, really anything you want. And you can find a bunch of ad lists at thefirebog.net. I'll include a link in the description. Once you do add ad lists, you'll just want to go to Tools and Update Gravity, and that'll update those lists, and then it'll be blocking them. In Settings, you can go to DNS, change the DNS providers to whatever you want. And then at the bottom here, there is something we actually need to do. This will be set to listen only on interface ETH0. We're going to set that to listen on all interfaces. Once we do that, we will just hit save. Once again, it's going to be very easy to install the VPN. We're just going to copy this curl line, paste it into the Raspberry Pi command line, and press enter. It's going to do some initial installing, and then it's going to pull up this page, PiVPN Automated Installer. We're just going to press enter, then we're just going to press yes, because we've already done a DHCP reservation. Then we're going to choose a local user to hold our OVPN configuration files. Pi is the only user, so we're good there. And then we're going to press the down arrow, press the space bar to select that, to select Openvpn, and we're going to press enter. It's going to ask you if you would like to change the protocol. This is pretty good how it's configured right now, so we're just going to hit no. It's going to run some numbers, install the packages. Then we're going to select a port number. I would recommend changing the port number from 1194 to a random one. I'll just choose 10730. Pretty random. Then I'm just going to hit enter. It's going to verify. Yes, we want that port. Remember this port number because we're going to need to do a port forward setting on the router. So remember that port you chose. It does have to be in between like 1,000 and 60,000. So as long as you're in between those parameters, you should be good. We'll just hit yes. And see, it has detected a Pi-hole installation. Do you want to use it as the DNS server for the VPN so you get ad blocking on the go? Yes, we do. It's going to install some stuff, and then it's going to get to this page. And this is where that dynamic DNS we set up comes into play. We're going to press the down arrow, enter, to select DNS entry. We're going to press enter, and then we're going to enter the public DNS name of the server. This is that web address you set up earlier. So we're just going to enter that. Then we're going to press OK. And then it's going to verify, look it over, make sure it's correct, and then press enter. It's going to finish installing stuff, and then it's going to generate a server key. Press enter, let it do its stuff. Then we'll get to this unattended upgrade page. Yes, we want unattended upgrades. Do we want to enable unintended upgrades of security patches? Yes, we do, just for security purposes, so it's harder to get in. Once it's done, it's going to say installation complete. We'll press OK, and then it's going to ask you to reboot. We're going to select yes, we do want to reboot. It's going to reboot, and it's going to kick you out of the SSH. Now that we've done that, there are some settings we do need to adjust in the router again. So go back to your router admin page, and this time we're going to find what DNS server your router's using. We're going to go in ours, we go to internet. Once again, it differs on every router. We're just trying to find the domain name server address. And it will be on get automatically from ISP, most likely, unless you've configured it in the past. We're going to select use these DNS servers. And in the primary DNS line, we're going to enter the IP address we set up for our Pi-hole. So I set up mine as 192.168.1.111. So I'm going to enter that into here for the DNS server. Then you're just going to hit apply, and it'll apply those settings, and you'll be golden on that. We do need to forward that port. Whatever port number you set up in that OpenVPN configuration needs to be forwarded to the Raspberry Pi. I set up the port as 10730, so I need to forward that port to the Raspberry Pi. So we're looking for port forwarding. In ours, it's under advanced, and you go to advanced setup and port forwarding / port triggering. We'll just click on that. Then we're going to click Add Custom Service or Add, whatever yours says. And then we're going to enter service name. We could just put, Pi-hole. That's what I'd put. Then we're going to put that port number we chose in. So in my case, I would put 10730 right there. And then we're going to enter the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. And then we're just going to hit apply. It'll update that, and that port will be forwarding to your Raspberry Pi. So once you've changed those settings on your router and your Pi has booted back up, go ahead and shell back into your Pi. Now we are going to add a VPN configuration profile. So in the command line, we're just going to type pi VPN space add. We'll enter, pop up with this stuff. We're going to enter a name. I'm just going to type Mac. We're going to press enter. How many days should the certificate last? 1080, that's 5 years, you're just fine. Enter the password, choose a password. Press enter, verify that password. It's going to create that certificate, and it's going to be loaded to home/pi/ovpns. So you may be wondering how to transfer that file from your Raspberry Pi to your computer. Well, there's two ways. For Mac, we will be using the application CyberDuck. I'll put a link in the description. For Windows, we will use WinSCP. I will also put that link in the description. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to be using CyberDuck. So I'm going to go to CyberDuck, and I'm going to click this button, Open Connection. I'm going to enter the server IP address, the IP address of your Pi, port 22, username Pi, password. And then we're at the top, we're going to choose SFTP, SSH File Transfer Protocol. And we're going to hit connect. It might pull this up. We're just going to check that always and then allow. There, it has now pulled up the directory of the Raspberry Pi, and you can see this OVPNs folder right here. So you can see all these OVPNs and this Mac one right here. We're just gonna drag and drop that from CyberDuck or WinSCP to the desktop of our computer or your computer. So once you've got that VPN profile created and downloaded onto your computer, we need to install the Openvpn client. What we're going to do is we're going to go to openvpn.net and install their OpenVPN Connect client. And I will include a link in the description for the download. Once that installs, it'll give you a little introduction. I've already clicked past it and agreed. Then we're going to click on this file. Then we're going to drag the OVPN file or browse for it into here. It's going to pull up that. You should see that dynamic DNS web address you created. We're just going to click connect after import and save private key password. Insert that password you created when you were creating the VPN profile, that one you entered for the VPN profile, and then we'll just click add. It'll add that, and then you'll see it's connected and it's trained. Once we've got all that set up, we can go to canyoublockit.com, and that'll give us some tests to see if our ad blocker is working. As you can see, it is, because we see this advertisement as opposed to banner ads. And down here, this is where an ad should be, but it's not. Now, when you're in your home connected to your home Wi-Fi, you don't need the VPN. The VPN is just going to slow you down at that point. When you're connected to your home Wi-Fi, because we configured the DNS server in the router, everything in the house everything connected to that internet is going to be blocked. Now, if you're out and about, you do need to connect to the VPN to get all the benefits of your ad blocker. Thanks for watching this video. Please hit that subscribe button and ding that bell so you get all my new videos and tutorials.